Welcome to CAM Radio, an ahead of the curve initiative by Cyril Mangaldas, bringing you every Friday the latest in legal and policy. Stay tuned, enjoy listening.
Welcome to Cyril Mangaldas, CAM Radio, Clear Cut, Clarity with Class. This is our grand finale for our 2023 journey, minimizing the mayhem and crafting clarity with care and class, befitting the name Clear Cut. If there were no constraints in life, what are the top 10 things you would do? Now that's the question that Rajesh Khanna, founder and CEO of Arka Capital Advisors, seems to have cracked. What does the journey of an investing maestro look like, whose passion extends beyond the boardroom to a love for world life? What is the juxtaposition of the corporate and the natural, the pursuit of photography and profit, and the profound lessons hidden within the stillness of a forest? To break it all down, here is Rajesh Khanna in chat with the man himself, Cyril Shroff, Managing Partner, Cyril Mangaldas.
Good afternoon, Rajesh, and thank you for being on this episode of our podcast series called Cam Radio. And it's really a pleasure to sort of do this. We've known each other for over 3 decades now in various avatars, starting from an investment banker, then a private equity investor, and now as a friend and as an expert wildlife photography. And I can't think of too many guests that I've interviewed who have that kind of variety under their belt. So this is going to be a exciting episode. So I'm going to go back in terms of a flashback many years ago when you were still in Singapore and you were kind of leading various initiatives. How has India changed since then? And if you can kind of describe it also in the context of your own journey, from then till now.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Cyril. It's my privilege to be on this program. Thank you for inviting me. The journey has been long. When I was in Singapore, it was about 20 years ago. I joined Warburg in 95. And just to remind, I joined Warburg in Hong Kong, was there for 4 years, then Singapore for 5 years. And then we shifted our Singapore office to Bombay in 2004. India has changed a lot in these 20 odd years. We all know about the robust economic growth. There's a significant and massive growth in number of sectors, number of entrepreneurs. Also the type of businesses that you look at. When we invested in Bharti, we were investing behind a mobile telecom company. Today, there are so many offshoots and derivative businesses of that. Thanks to the impact of increased connectivity due to penetration of mobile phones and broadband, e-commerce, communication, access to information in rural areas has changed dramatically. Infrastructure has improved a lot. The Make in India initiative to improve manufacturing has also helped boost manufacturing. Financial inclusion has increased. I heard a very interesting conversation you had with Kalpana on financial inclusion. India's global standing has gone up. More global brands, more people from different countries working in India. And it's certainly the place where at least my children say they like to work over here. In terms of my reflections, so as you said, we met almost 30 years ago. When I joined Warburg 28 years ago, private equity was an unknown concept.
So when we first met, you were in Citibank, right?
Yes, Citibank, when there was a company looking to demerge, and we had then met at your home 30 years ago. And then you were the person who guided us through at Warburg. We didn't know how to bring money into the country. We didn't know the regulators allow us to take money out of the country because the regulations for FIIs was well established. But for private equity, because we were the first ones over there, you were the one who gave us your helping hand, your guidance. We took lots of your time at that time to establish our structures and the vehicles to come into India and the regulatory approvals required to take out of the country, money out of the country. And it's, I think, after the first cycle took place of money leaving the country with profit, then there was significantly more comfort to put in lots more money into the country. But India always was a shining example in our global portfolio. And I really think that then, as well as now, it was right place, right time. But at the same time, a very complex place where people like yourself is critical to help us navigate the environment.
Oh, thanks. You're very kind, Rajesh. But tell me more kind of emotionally, how do you feel about India today? I mean, that was then, there was a lot of optimism that time as well. I think that was those moments when you sort of some of the initial and fairly large investments were coming in. And then it went through various cycles. And again, I sense the same level of, confidence and exuberance. And also with, 2-3 decades of experience behind us. So how would you describe the sentiment today, both just from a investor feeling?
So both investor and personal, I'll respond on both. Investor, the sentiment has improved dramatically because lots more people have actually made lots of money in the country. The depth of entrepreneurship has increased dramatically. So the quality of entrepreneurs who have come out of India were a lot at that time, but have dramatically increased more. So while there's more competition, there's more pools of capital chasing India, the number of opportunities are also much more. And the ability to specialize in certain sectors, whichever sectors you like, is much more. I'm also a member of IPO where I interact with fellow entrepreneurs, and their bullish views on India, their desire to invest money in India has also dramatically moved up over the last 2 decades. And also from a personal point of view, like many Indians, I had a choice to stay in India or stay in some other country. And I consciously decided as a family to want to be in India because we really think we're the best of both worlds in terms of what India has to offer with the improvement in infrastructure. Yes, there are areas where we wish it could be better, but on the whole, we're very happy to be here and we look forward to being here.
No, thank you for that, and thank you for being an Indophile. Now, I don't know whether I personally had an option to stay in another country or not. Theoretically, I did, but whether by default or otherwise, for me, it's only been India, and I can't thank fate enough for having been born at the right time in the right country. It's just that India, I think, is at a very important and incredible inflection point. So fast forwarding a bit from your kind of initial days decades ago to really how your personal journey has evolved, and then again sort of moving on, Rajesh, from being sort of hardcore in the investor market, in the investor world, and in the financial world, and the journey to what I think is you have the skills of being a world-class wildlife photographer, and you made that a kind of a hobby on steroids. So firstly, how did that psychological transition happen, and what made you so deeply interested in this, and you spend so much time on it as well? So tell us a little bit about that, and that's the part which fascinates me.
Very good question, Cyril. So about 20 years ago, I realized that my life was fully immersed in my work, and apart from my work and spending time with family, I had no other interests because I didn't have the time or I didn't have any other interests. And I realized it is critical to have a hobby and a passion in one's life. So when I was in Singapore, I actually started different things. I took a coach for piano, for bridge, for photography, and one more thing, I forgot what it was. And I tried each of those for almost 2-3 months each. And then I focused on photography, particularly wildlife photography, because it married a lot of my interests. I like being in the forest. I find it very calming. I find it very different from being in the corporate world because you are cut out from newspapers, magazines. I go to Botswana where you need a satellite phone to keep in touch with your office or your home. And while work, the analytical mind was active, and in the forest and photography the creative mind is active, so it felt more whole and complete. And also I felt that for a hobby to become a passion, it needs to have a few criteria. For me, learning, growing, and pursuit of excellence in whatever I do is critical. So if I said my hobby was, let's say, playing piano or being bridge, I couldn't envisage me being world class in that. It wasn't coming from within me. But from a photography perspective, being able to depict certain things in a certain interesting light was something which appealed a lot to me because of my love for forest and my ability, I think, to capture interesting moments. So then that was 20 years ago. When I left Warburg in 2010, I tried to raise a fund. I was not successful for various reasons. The environment was not right. And a year later, I called it off. I had a choice to go back into the corporate world of private equity, invest on my own in early stage companies, or do something different. Ashu, my wife, being a leadership coach, helped me think through various options for me. And the lens that we applied was the share of time, the pie chart of allocation of time has to be in sync with the pie chart of what the goals are in the long term. It's difficult to say that I want to be in a job, I want to spend 14 hours a day in it or 12 hours a day in it, but at the same time, I also want to do X and Y and Z and A, B and C, on which I'm allocating only 5% of my time. And then what was done was an Excel sheet, which took 4 months to do, which was
just to be so analytical.
Yeah, think of all the possible goals you can have in life. It can be money, it can be intellectual stimulation, can be travel, can be family, can be health, can be whatever it may be. Put weight, but the weightages of all of them put together cannot exceed 100.
Yeah.
Okay. So it forces you to make choices.
What you're doing is you created in your mind a symmetry between goals and time allocation.
Absolutely. And then
that's a very interesting way of looking at it, and so sensible and practical.
Right. And then put against that various options. Go back into the private equity world, do start a venture capital on my own with my own capital, or do what I'm doing now, and then give scores of 0 to 10 against the various goals, and then do a weighted average and see what comes out ahead, and then keep tweaking, keep thinking, reflecting, mulling over it over a period of time. And what struck me was that after spending 15 years in private equity, certain things which were critical, important, exciting for me in the beginning became less exciting, they were still exciting, but the only scarce resource many of us are fortunate to have is our time. And as Ashu keeps emphasizing,
and time never comes back.
It never comes back. The how we allocate our time is the most important decision of our life. If one is asked questions like, if you're on your deathbed tomorrow, what would you regret? What are the 5
bucket list type of thing?
Yes. What are the things? So in YPO, we have something called the dream life presentation, which is if there are no constraints in your life, what are the things you would like to do? And I realized that when I would answer those questions, answer number 10 may have been a 5-bagger, a 10-bagger, or a 15-bagger investment. But answer number 1, 2, 3, 4 will often be in the forest, go with a National Geographic world-class photographer and come up with something interesting, travel a lot, have flexibility in how I decide on my time. So not being answerable to a boss, a client, an investor, somehow had a large weightage in my mind.
Amazing.
But at the same time, I did not want to be sitting at home drinking wine every day, watching a movie and effectively wasting, because for me, that learning and growing have been things which have driven me from childhood. Even when I joined Warburg, I didn't know what private equity meant. There was no internet. I remember Chip at that time telling me, we are this, we are that. I said, show me an article in the newspaper about you all. He said, we were 20-year-old article because we are not high profile. We don't like talking to the press. So I jumped into it because I felt I can learn something different and something new. Same way in photography, I realized that as you get older, unlike tennis, I can still do photography when I'm 80 years old, number one. Number two, I'm not dependent on people around me to go as a group with them. Number three, I feel calm, peaceful, joyous when I'm in the forest. Number four, there is no limit to how good you can be as a photographer. Like many other fields, you can keep getting better and better. The search for excellence can be a continuous lifelong journey. And all that excited me. Plus, there's an element of technology in it from a camera perspective, which I'll touch on later. There's an element of creativity in it, which is also very interesting.
Yes.
So all of that, it just came together. And then I experimented, I tried, and it was interesting. And that's how I just delved deeper and deeper into it. But at the same time, I also approached it like a corporate. I have vision statements, I have goals, I have targets, I have methods to achieve them. I have world-class coaches who have helped me in the beginning. I started in India with tigers, then I went to Africa, then I went to South America, I went to Europe for Northern Lights, I went to Antarctica recently, and I just enjoyed this journey very much.
And amazing, and I think it's a very interesting lens from which how you could take effectively a kind of a right brain decision using parts of the left brain for arriving at a sort of way forward. Now, I come from a profession which is meant to be a analytical profession where you have to really apply logic to everything. But I must confess that when it comes to my personal life, I don't use even a fraction of the logic that you do. I think maybe I need this Excel sheet to kind of discipline how I allocate my time. And maybe I'm getting to that age where I need to do that. And I have examples like you too.
But sorry to interrupt, Cyril, but I have seen you as a legal advisor where you start with logic, but then when you shift come to your business cap and say, if I was in your shoes, this is what I would do, then I've seen a huge amount of creativity in you, which is not just logic and facts and figures.
No, thank you. Yeah, that's very kind of you. And Rajesh, I think as you know, you've also been an inspiration on my amateurish photography journey as well. The couple of conversations that I had, and I think the output of that, I sent you some of them, actually far exceeded my own expectations. In terms
I'm sure you do well.
It will. Now I'm coming up with another travel where I need to do that. But I think you kind of got me hooked on to sort of doing this wildlife photography thing from time to time as well. It's amazing how it kind of inspires you. So, whilst on the theme of wildlife, let me ask you a very sort of peculiar question of what do you see as the similarities and differences between being an investor and being a photographer?
Very
You
interesting.
have answered part of it already, but I think I'd like a little deeper answer.
So, I've thought a lot, and it's very interesting what you asked. There are many, many, many similarities, and I can talk ad nauseum. I'll try to be brief on this. One is the pursuit of excellence is similar in both. Then looking for unique opportunities is also similar in both. In investing, you don't want to invest in a commodity business. You want something different about it. In photography also, I varied the genres a lot. I started with tigers, then Africa from a jeep, then Africa in an underground hide where they dig a hole next to a water body and you hide and people can't see you. Africa by boat, Africa by helicopter where they remove the doors and you sit sideways with they put tape on the so you don't fall off. Then Northern Lights, Antarctica, then watching white horses run across the water in France, Costa Rica, Galapagos. So lots of unique opportunities. Then the next point is creativity. Even in photography, you're creative. In investing, also you need to be creative. Sorry, you were saying something?
No, sir, I was just sort of confirming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then patience. In photography, to get the right of photos, you need to be very patient, as you have seen yourself. I have sat for 4 hours waiting for a leopard to wake up and jump down from a tree. I watched a hunt develop over an 8-hour period. And essentially, I waited for a mother to bring back food to her cubs. And what am I trying to accomplish at the end of the day? I'm trying to get photos which evoke the love in the reader's mind for love for environment, love for nature, love for animals, so that they feel like protecting the environment. Today, when I sit in CSR committees and boards, protecting animals and environment in the boards that I have seen is not in the top 3. There are many other notes. There's education, girl child, healthcare, but environment doesn't come up. I'm hoping that with my photographs, I can play some role in people's love for the environment improving. Now, at the same time, if I take photos of an iPhone or I take commodity photos of a tiger sitting and eating, it will not create the same impact. My lens always has been that my photos cannot be found on Google. They cannot be commodity photos. There has to be something unique about them, something different. And the best way to say it is, can you see something similar on the net? No. How many emotions are evoked on it? Love, happiness, play, joy. The more number of positive emotions you can talk about it, the more positive it is. So that's patience. Then I read a lot, both in investing as well as photography. I read a lot, deep understanding of the subject. Just like in investing, you have to do diligence on what you want to invest in. Similarly, in photography, I study animal behavior. A mother has young calves that need to be fed. Good time to photograph the mother. A cheetah on a hunt is empty. Stomach is empty. There's a group of prey. If a prey is left alone, chances she's going to run. So go over there. Then when to go to which forest, or where to go, which guys to go with. So this all comes in diligence. Then strategic thought, which forest to go. For example, a forest with young cubs is better to go than a forest which has adult, let's say, tigers. Yeah. Going to Kenya, where I can go off-road, and where there are restrictions on number of vehicles or sightings, is better than to go to a public park. Then I used to enjoy going to Bandhavgarh, where I could hire an elephant for private purposes for 3 hours to go deep in the jungle to look for tigers. Then next, the similarities, focus versus prey and prey. Just like in investing, you want to focus on a few things. Here also, in a jungle, something is happening everywhere. And either you can be a butterfly like a tourist and keep going from here to here to here, or you pick your spots and you sit there and take a risk. The leopard may not wake up, the hunt may not happen, the mother may not come, but pick your spots and be focused. And then technical learning. Just like in investing, you need to keep learning about regulations, about a certain sector, what is happening. Here also, which camera to use, which is the best camera, when to make a change, and so on. For example, I used to use traditional cameras, and then I shifted to mirrorless cameras, and I made a massive shift because that's what technology demanded. Then working in a group, just like investing, you have industry experts, you have lawyers, you have accountants. I also don't know Photoshop. I work with experts who know Photoshop. I work with experts who know a certain geography well. So those are some of the similarities. What are the differences? There is no commercial lens when I'm doing my photography. I'm doing it purely for inner joy and peace. So as a result, there's zero stress in what I do. And I have full flexibility in how I structure my life, unlike investing where there is some answerability that you need to have.
Yeah. No, that's an amazing, insight into comparing sort of two topics which are so sort of integral to our lives as well. And I would extrapolate some of these lessons to my life as well, whether it's, I mean, you called it investing, for me just being in terms of, running the firm, or for, how I invest my time is also very, very important.
Right.
So the subject matter of a lot of your photographs has been wildlife. What have you learned from the animals? What have you learned from the tiger? What have you learned from the cheetah? And they're all from the cat family, but they're also different. What have you learned from some of the other wildlife that you see? What do you learn from a hyena, etc.? Thoughts?
Yeah, very interesting again. I can give some examples. One is power of groups. So lionesses usually in a pride usually breed at the same time so that they all have cubs at similar ages so that they can share the responsibility of the cubs being brought up together.
Yeah,
or
uncles and
being-
aunties can do it together.
Sorry?
The aunties can manage
Yes.
the.
Right. Then group of people with different skill sets. I don't know if you know this, but giraffes and zebras often graze together for
Yeah.
multiple reasons. One, giraffes can spot predators with their long necks, whereas zebras are known for their keen eyesight and excellent sense of hearing. Also, from a vegetation point of view, giraffes eat on the upper part and zebras below.
Yes.
So by being together, giraffes and
A
zebras
lot of synergy.
have a lot of synergy, and also when there's a group of mixed species, predators are more wary. Then strategic thinking. I don't know if you're aware, but many predators like lions and cheetahs, not cheetahs, lions, for example, and leopards, they cannot outrun the prey if the prey has spotted them. So if they both start at the same point, the prey can run faster than the predators. So the predators therefore have to rely on stealth and surprise in order to eat. And as a result, less than 20% of lions' hunts are successful. So there's a lot of strategic thinking that they need to apply, which is applicable to what we also do. Similarly, from a patient's point of view, as I referred to earlier, if a cheetah wants to attack some deer, it cannot attack if there are 10 deers together, because then any one will see an alert. They have to wait strategically with patience for one straggler to come out and then attack that straggler. Then even communication. Very interesting. When honeybees are looking for flowers to take pollen from, they send scouts out. When a scout finds some flowers and they want to communicate to the honeybees as to what the quality of flowers are, they dance what's called a waggle dance, where they twist their body. The longer they waggle, the further the flowers are from the hive. Then, the more vigorously they dance, the better the quality of flowers. Then they indicate the direction of the source by the angle of their walk relative to the sun. Moving on, elephants, for example, display emotions such as grief and joy. They mourn their dead. They show empathy toward distressed individuals. And interestingly, the leader of elephant are females, which often shows as to how females are have so many skills which we sometimes ignore. So those are some of the examples how the animal world can teach us on some things.
Amazing. And I think even though, I mean, the other thing sort of contrasting with humans is that only humans kill for sport, whereas animals kill
Yes.
only for.
I agree. I missed that. Yes.
Yes. So that again kind of is a lesson to us as human beings as well. So what are you looking forward in your next safari, which is starting a few days from now?
Listen, it's very hard to expect something. I go to Kenya, I'm on my own, and I'm going to spend 14 hours a day, every day in the forest. And I just hope to see what I see. But what I mainly like to see is siblings playing with each other, or a hunt, or parent-child interaction, something where there's something happening versus just a solitary animal sitting.
No, thank you for that, Rajesh. This has been one of the most fascinating conversations I've had. I mean, we moved from the corporate world to the world, creative world, and the wild, sort of in the wild. A lot of life lessons. I'm looking forward to come over to your home and look at some of your photographs. I mean, I'm sure they're endless number, and to learn some new tricks from you, and also to see some of the photographs that you will take in your forthcoming visit in a few days from now.
I look forward to that, Cyril.
Thank you. Any questions for me? And before we close?
No, I'm very impressed by your drawing skills and your venture into photography. I'm sure it'll go very well.
And so, we bring Cam Radio's exploration of what it takes to align goals with the judicious allocation of time. Through it all, we have explored how the rhythm of the animal kingdom can echo the heartbeat of the investing landscape. What are the profound revelations that can emerge when you step out of your comfort zone? Cam Radio thanks you and hopes you are left with this food for thought. Until we see you again in 2024, goodbye and good luck.